In this course, you're going to learn how to make a notched collar jacket with very easy steps. I'll show you all the techniques that you need. So a notched collar jacket is just a modification of the basic bodice block. So you're going to draft the front and back bodice block, and the front is where the modifications will be. So basically, first you just have to draft a normal back bodice with a neck depth of 1 inch. So let's start by drafting the pattern, and these are the tools we're going to need to draft our basic bodice. So we need the following tools: the ruler, the measuring tape, the markers, the French seam, the French curves, and the pattern drafting paper. So we're going to draft the back bodice, which is going to have 2 darts, the center darts and the side darts, and a neck depth of 1 inch. So this is the back bodice. So next, let's make the front bodice. So this is the front bodice that we're going to do modifications on. Basically, the back bodice is just simple. The same techniques we'll use to make the front bodice is what we do with the back one. So as you can see, we have 6 inches left on the sides of this paper, and on the center, that is where we'll draft the front bodice. So let's begin by marking our neck width measurement of 3 inches, our shoulder of 8 inches, and shoulder slant of 1 inch, as you can see. So I'll connect my shoulder slant to my neck width with my ruler. So this is the front bodice that we're going to modify on. Then I'm going to mark my neck depth of, you can use 3 to 4 inches, it's up to you. But for the back, make sure you use 1 inch neck depth for the back bodice, and the rest is just the same as the front, except the darts. So I'm just making my neck line measurements. Then next, I'll mark my armhole measurements by placing the measuring tape around my arm, then divide by 2. So I'll mark my armhole measurements there. Then I'll mark my shoulder to bust measurements. These are vertical measurements, and my shoulder to waist measurements and jacket full length. You can choose where you want your jacket to end. If you want it to reach on your hip or wherever you want it to be, that will be the jacket full length. So for me, it was going to end on my hip. Then I'm going to draw the horizontal lines, as you can see, on my shoulder to bust. So this is my shoulder to bust measurement, 10 inches. I'm just drawing horizontal lines. I already drew my shoulder to waist measurements, horizontal line, as you can see. So this is my shoulder to bust. Just ignore this line here. Then next, we have my armhole. So this is my armhole line. I'm going to draw a line and extend it outwards. So these are the steps you use when drafting the back bodice as well. I just didn't want to repeat similar things. Then the only difference is that the back is going to have a neck depth of 1 inch. I repeat and emphasize, the back there has neck depth of 1 inch. So we're going to curve our armhole by finding the midpoint of the armhole line, then going inwards by 1/2 inch, as you can see me going. Then on this point, I'm going to go up by 1 inch, then I'll get my French curve ruler to help me shape my armhole. So I'm just shaping my armhole. Then next, we're going to put my bust circumference divide by 4, waist circumference divide by 4, and hip circumference divide by 4. Then we'll connect. Then remember, we need to add seam allowance for the darts and seam allowance for joining the sides. So you can either add the seam allowance on this pattern paper, or you can add it when transferring the pattern onto your fabric. It all depends with your preferences, but make sure you add your darts and seam allowances, because we're going to have darts on this jacket. On the front, we'll have 1 dart, and on the back, we'll have 2. So I'm going to go on my waistline, and I'm going to go up by 2 inches, then go inwards here by 1 inch. Then I'm going to draw and drop down the lines. So I'm sure you see the reason why we left out inches on the sides. It's to modify the bodice and transform it into a jacket. So basically, a jacket is just a transformation of a basic bodice into a jacket. So it's very important to learn how to draft a jacket. So on this point, I'm going to go outwards. You can either go out by 3.5 or 1 inch. It all depends on how wide you want your lapel to be. Then you're going to connect it down to your waistline, down here on your button stand. So this is a button stand. Connect it down. Then next we're going to make our collar and make the notch. So for the collar, you need to get your back bodice. Remember I said for the back bodice you need a neck depth of 1 inch. So measure around the neckline of your back bodice. So this is the back bodice and it has the darts. That's why you are seeing it cut. So measure this neckline, and I said the neck depth should be 1 inch. So measure around your back bodice, whatever measurement is there, that's what you'll mark up there. So I repeat, the difference between the front and back bodice is that the back bodice will only have a 1 inch neck depth, and the front can have 3 to 4 inch or however you want it. So this is the back bodice neck depth I'm marking up there. So now we can make our notch. So for the notch, from here you can go inwards by 2 inch or 1.5. Just mark it there. Then the distance, you can draw a line. The notch distance should be 1.5 or 1 inch. So what I mean by notch distance, the distance from this point to down here should be 1 inch or 1.5. So connect this once you find that it's 1.5 distance. So I'm just checking to make sure it's 1.5 or 1 inch. It's up to your preferences. Yes, so now I'm just going to connect. So this is the notch that we're making. Then next we're going to determine, so that is 1.5. That's the distance of my notch. Determine the width of the collar. So you can mark 4 inches, 3.5. It all depends with your preference. You are the designer. You decide how you want it to be, but normally just 4 inches or 3.5. But if you want to be dramatic and make your own styles, you can even make it bigger. Yeah. So I'm now going to connect this point to that point in order to shape my collar. Then next we're going to make the darts and cut this out. So let's make the darts before we do the cutting. So on the waistline and on the bust line, that's where the darts will be. I'm going to go inwards by 4 inches. So this is the bust span or nipple to nipple, which is 4 inches. Then I'm going to mark the same on the waistline as well. So just follow along and do what I'm doing, as you can see. Then connect down. This is the dart. Then on the waistline, I'm going to go outwards by 1/2 inch on both sides. Then we're going to shape the dart. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch and here up by 2 inches. Then I'll connect to shape the darts. Then on my shoulder line, I'm going to find the midpoint. Then I'll connect it to the dart. Then now we're going to cut out. So remember to add seam allowances for the darts. You can either add on this pattern paper or later on when cutting your fabric. Because if you don't add that seam allowance and join in seam allowance, your jacket is going to be small. Because remember, we're going to cut out the dart and we need to join it back. So the next thing you have to do is make the sleeve pattern and then cut out the front jacket. So let's cut the pattern. So we're going to start by cutting the darts. So when cutting out the collar on your fabric, remember to put your fabric on fold because this is on fold. Everything should be cut on fold. Make sure when cutting, everything should be cut on fold so that you can have two sides. The collar should be on fold. The lapel may not necessarily be on fold, but you need two fabric pieces when cutting. So this is the collar and it's going to be cut on fold. This is our jacket with the darts. So the back is also going to have two darts, one like the one we have on the front one and the other side dart. So now we can cut our fabric and the lining. So this is the collar. Like I said, the collar should be cut on fold so that you can have, once you open it, it was cut on fold. The fabric was on fold, as you can see. Then once you open it, it's supposed to look like this. So we have two collar pieces. Then the back fabric for the back bodice should have 1, 2, 3, 4 because it had two darts that were on fold, and once you open it will be 4. So it will have 4 pieces. And the back lining, this is how the back lining should look. This is the back lining placed on top of the back fabric. And the lining should be shorter than the fabric by 1 inch to 2 inches, as you can see. So I'll show you later on why the lining is shorter than the fabric. Then cutting the fabric, the front fabric. So this is the front. We have the front fabric, and for the lining we have 2 lining pieces for the front and 2 facings. By facing I mean the fabric. This is the facing, because at the lapel the fabric, you don't need the black lining, you need the facing, and the facing and lining should be shorter by 1.5 inch as well. So we have 2 lining pieces for the front and 2 facings for the front, because when you turn over your lapel you want it to look the same. So by facing we'll be using the same fabric instead of lining. I hope that's clear, guys. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start joining the pieces together. We'll start by joining the back pieces together by 1/2 inch of seam allowance. I'll just take it to my sewing machine, as you can see. Then we'll also join the linings for the back. So I've joined my back lining and my back fabric, as you can see. Then I need to press open my seam. I need to press with my iron, my steam iron. It's very important to press open your seams. Then next we'll join the the linings pieces, the back lining piece and the front lining pieces, and also the sleeves. So you are going to join on the shoulder and also on the sides. This is the back lining and the front lining. But remember, the front lining has a facing. It didn't have lining throughout. The lapel part is going to have a facing, so that's why you're seeing a little piece of fabric that is the facing. Then I'm going to sew on the shoulder seams and also in the sides. Then I'm also going to join my sleeve lining to this. I'm going to do the same with my fabric. I'll join the back and front together. Then I also add, so this is the fabric, this is the back fabric, and then my front fabric, and I'm also going to join on the shoulder seams and also on the side seams, and I'm also going to attach the sleeves. So I'll sew the sleeves also. This is the lining sleeve. I'll attach it to my lining, and I'll do the same with the fabric as well. So let's go to the machine and join these pieces together. And once they are joined, we'll move on to the next stage. So I'll be sewing the collar to my fabric and to my lining. So as you can see, I've joined my fabric, sleeves, and the front and back pieces. So next I'm going to attach my collar. Remember, I have two collar pieces. So you can add interfacing to make the collar stiff. The one that is going to be on the top part, one of the collars. Then I'll fold it and notch and place my collar at the center. Start sewing my collar, starting from the center. Then I'm going to do the same with my lining. I'm going to join my collar on my lining. I'll notch it and start sewing from the center. Then after attaching the collars, we're now going to attach the jackets, the lining to the fabric. So I'm going to place them right sides facing each other. I'll start by sewing the collars. Then after sewing the collar sides, I'm going to, remember the lining is shorter than the fabric. Then I'm going to pull it down and sew at the bottom. Then after sewing the bottom, I'll sew the top part first, right side facing each other. Remember, I was sewing from the wrong side. Then drop it down. Then I'm going to stitch here. Then after stitching down here, we're going to sew the sides as well. So I'm just going to take it to my sewing machine. And don't worry, we're going to turn this. I know some people may be wondering, how is it going to be turned? I'll show you how to turn it out. As you can see, I have my seam ripper. I'll rip out with my seam ripper part of the lining, that seam. I'll rip out about 6 inches, and that's what I will use to turn out my fabric to the right side. That's after stitching. So I'm going to open just about 6 inches or anything that can be used to turn it out. So after sewing, we're now going, so I've sewn around the sides, and like I said, I'm going to make an opening with my seam ripper. You've seen why I made an opening. Then we're going to turn out the jackets to the right sides, as you can see. Isn't that lovely, guys? Then you're going to close that seam. You can close it by hand or just take it to the sewing machine. Just fold it. Let me just show you how. Just fold it like that and take it to the sewing machine. This is the inside of the fabric, or you can use hand stitch. The hand stitch may look even neater. Then just stitch it. The next, you're just going to give it but a good press. First, let's sew the sleeves before we stitch that. So on this same opening, that's where we're going to hem our sleeves. So before you close that seam that's open, you need to first hem the two sleeves together, then close it later on. So I'm just going to put in my lined sleeve, as you can see. So this is how we're going to be sewing our sleeve. I'm going to get my lining and then make sure the right sides of the lining is facing the right sides of the sleeve. Then we're going to stitch. So I'm going to take it out through that opening. So make sure you don't close the opening until you hem your sleeves. And also, in case you need to do any alterations later on, you just have to make an opening right there and do the alterations, adjustments on the jacket. In case the jacket is too big and you want to make it smaller, just make a cut in future. That's how you do alterations or adjustments. So I'm going to bring these two out, my lining sleeve and my lining and my fabric sleeve. Then I'll place them right sides facing each other. Then we'll take it to the sewing machine and stitch around it. Then after stitching, we'll take it back to the where it's supposed to be, then close that seam that is opened. So basically, guys, this is how you make your beautiful jackets. You can also wear it with trousers. You can enroll in my trousers course if you haven't done so.